Wow. Holy crap. Welcome, everybody, to the Boston Consessions. I'm your host, Topher. Has it been a while? Because according to me, it's been, my freckle shows a lot. I've been dealing with stuff on the side, basically a lot of stuff. The one thing I did want to state before I started anything, and to anybody out there that does listen to this, I want to take this to heart. Mental illness with anybody is always important. Um, The only thing I basically state to anybody out there, please take care of yourselves. Yourself is probably one of the most important things in the world. I myself have learned that a little bit more lately than anything. Everybody can have influence on you, everybody can have a certain statement, but nobody should make you feel completely uncomfortable. Nobody should push your boundaries. Nobody should push your limits. You should know you, and you should be the best you can. So I've always been an advocate of mental health. I've also been an advocate of people just being themselves, because you come to find that you are the only you. Out of a collector who collects cards, comics, sports stuff, anything like that, you are probably the most rarest thing on the planet, and you are still you. So with that being said, continue being you and try to be the best you can. With that, I'm back. I'm doing so much better. Things around me are being so much better. And I'm learning a little bit more of certain things that I can do. So I kind of wanted to do a little bit of like media presentation. Kind of wanted to do a couple of things here or there that were like actually going to make things pop. However, um, it's not doing what I wanted to. And it's not so much as, oh my God, I'm making this happen or I'm doing this wrong. No, it's kind of like along the lines of the app is doing a little bit more than what I didn't want it to do. Um, in ways I still can't do TikTok Live. I would love to do TikTok Live. I would love to basically have people see my brand, see what I've built here, and be able to like grow with that. TikTok, for whatever reason, you're sucking it. Come on, up your game, dude. Um, and then all in all, I want to get back to doing 2 to 3 streams a week. I want to get back to being here. We are going to have a lot to talk about. Patriots off season, what's going on, where it's going, Celtics, Bruins, playoff bound. Things that I said at the beginning of the year are now coming to fruition. Which one is better? Which one isn't? And of course, to the fact, the Red Sox, because I know everybody wants to talk about them. Why? Because they're one of the biggest things on the planet right now. But I will start off with the Celtics. Celtics are doing phenomenal, so to speak. Can't see anything wrong about them. Tatum coming back from injury has basically made a huge difference. Jaylen Brown is still throwing up numbers. He's still having an MVP caliber season. I will give him the credit with that. The team is like basically kicking on a cylinder that you haven't seen in a while, which is great. Nemesis Queta is probably one of my all-time favorite players right now. Just seeing him dominate boards, dominate basically defensively, just showing to the fact that the big man going out and giving it all the stops is an absolute joy. And then, of course, you have the return of number 0. The upstep on the return of Tatum. It basically took monumental strides. Basically, having that injury against the Knicks last year was not anything wild-eyed. But you had Jason Tatum, who went through it. Um, Looked like he was ahead of schedule. Didn't look like he wanted to like actually interrupt the status quo with how the Celtics were actually building their team, but also building what was going to be a huge playoff push. Um, Currently, right now, they are 53-25. They are right behind the Pistons' rear end for the top seed. And by the way, hats off to the Pistons. Holy crap. Oh, you are looking good. Um, compared, compare what a, how do I want to say this? Um, a 2026 championship, I guess, like within my thinking. If you look at 2008, 2024, great title years. The big three with the big ticket, the truth, and of course your three master. I'm talking about Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, and also Ray Allen. Making their statement in 2008 with that cast was monumental. Fast forward to 2024, when the Jays actually won their first title together. What would 2026 kind of mean a little bit more for the Green? Well, I think in my eyes, it'd be a little bit special. 2025, you had probably more of like what you wanted for a run. You wanted to do things that were going to be huge. You went and got Kristaps Porzingis. You gave up Marcus Smart. You did a lot of things that basically put a lot of things into perspective. You lost Porzingis. You were kind of floating on a lot of soft injuries that weren't making a lot of sense in the fact of what you were getting into. But now you've kind of transitioned that into when you drop Jason Tatum because of his Achilles injury, when you had Jaylen Brown kind of on the fence. Now you're implementing a little bit more with kind of like your supporting cast. Brad Stevens went to work. And when Brad Stevens went to work, the one of the things that I could say, especially at the halfway point to now, Brad Stevens basically reinvented what it is to be a bench player. You see it in Peyton Pritchard when he comes off the bench. You see it in Hauser when he comes off the bench. Hugo coming off the bench. There's a laundry list of people that you can sit there and go, man, the Celtics coming off the bench, they're dangerous. And yeah, they are. They pass, they shoot, they score. Ball movement, rebounds, you name it, they're making a push. 2026 is basically, we took a lot away from Tatum, but what can that mean now? And 2025 was, I mean, they probably weren't going to make it past that Knicks team. You know it. I know it. I don't sugarcoat things on this thing. It was a long shot for at least anybody to come back from that Knicks team, because that Knicks team was on a different level for what they were running. This year's a little different. The Knicks are not as strong. The Pistons are basically showing they're the ones to kick it in a gear. But I don't even think the flopping power of LeBron James is going to save anybody from the Celtics. They've been blowing teams away, and they're making statements heard. I mean, yeah, every once in a while you'll lose a game, you'll make a misstep. It's going to happen. One game over 8, over 9 is not a bad look. And let's point out the opposite. When you have controlling factors like Derek White, Peyton Pritchard, who not only can throw the ball up, but sneak around you and take the ball from you, that's huge. When you have Jason Tatum, whose pull-up jumper looks glorious compared to what you've actually seen in a previous year. When Jaylen Brown, again, is having an MVP caliber season, is calling people out. Not going to mention names, SGA, but especially when Jaylen did that, one of the hottest takes I gave to a friend of mine was simply put, SGA is trash. And it shows. That game against the Celtics where he's pushing off, bumping into everybody. Dude, if that's your game, you're LeBron James 3.0, and it's pathetic. The Celtics don't need to do that. Of course, they gave it back to him and basically said, hey, you want to do this all day? We'll do it back. It's when Jaylen Brown can now up his game with looking at anybody he plays, and his game is giving everybody the finger. Not literally walking around the court, hey, how are you doing? No, he lets his game do the talking. That's Celtics basketball. That's where I was a Tatum fan more than a Jaylen Brown fan. I respected Jaylen for his craft. But now I've got a little bit up where I'm showing him a little bit more respect. He's not only battling for his team, and in the absence of Jason Tatum, he took the team right on his back, showed to the fact he was most valuable for what he's doing, and then showed the limits of what other teams are versus his limitless capabilities of controlling the floor. And this is, of course, a lot of stuff that I wasn't able to talk about because, hey, I wasn't here. But when you have someone right now like the Jays, you cannot state Tatum is missing a beat. He's got what? 2 triple doubles? Close to like a third? In not even a month back? And if you're not a team looking at this and you're not shitting your pants, you might want to take a little look at that. Because the reality is, if Jaylen Brown can come in and dominate you, and then Jason Tatum can come in and dominate you, and then the bench is going to play defense upon everything else and basically make you look like borderline small, you might want to be a little bit on the step of that. Because there's huge factors to everything that you're looking at. And that is one of the biggest and huge factors. Okay. The Jays being healthy going into the playoffs, that's going to basically make a statement for you. But it also shows one simple thing that was missing in 2025. Take Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum off this team right now, and you still have a strong Celtics team that will make a push for the playoffs. They will make a push for the finals. Why? Because all year, one J to rule them all. Okay? There's a reason he's in the MVP talk. It's the reason why SGA is taking a back seat to the man. It's the reason why LeBron James isn't even being courted. God. It's also the reason why nobody is even saying a word, because Jaylen Brown is actually showing who he is. And whether it took Tatum to get injured, or it's Tatum's going to come back and we can either be up on high or or way down low. If you want to be up on high, be up on high. Show to the fact that you're highness in any which way, shape, or form. But yeah, I'm still taken aback by the ness. Look, the reality is you're playing a Celtics team that isn't going to give up, and they're going to push no matter what. And I think if you drop one of the Jays, heaven forbid, if they tweak an ankle or they get poked in the eye and they're out for a game, you still have to deal with another one. And Peyton Pritchard and Nemesis Queta and Baylor Shireman and Hugo Gonzalez, which a lot of these guys, what was the factor that everybody was talking about? Oh, well, Hugo's kind of a waste. What else are you going to have to it? There's not really much in like what they're doing. Well, there is a lot. You know, Sam Hauser playing amazing. You know, Derek White showing who he is. Taylor Shireman finally taking a huge step up. You know, Hugo Gonzalez putting up his numbers. Jordan Walsh coming in and showing the fact of who he is. You know, these are moments that make this team exactly what it is. This is a growing factor of depth. And the beauty part, I'll say, out of everything, this is exactly what 2008 had. This is also exactly what 2024 had. The difference is you have different role players now. And those different role players are going to make and break a huge difference with everything else going on. I'm excited for the team, and I'm looking forward to it. And everything else goes into the other contrast, which is what I was really, really talking about, which, did that switch? No, it didn't. Okay. He's kind of dumb. Okay. Which is the Bruins. I said at the beginning of the year which one was going to be worse. Marco Sturm, now your head coach. Jason Tatum not being in the mix. A lot of things and a lot of factors were contributing to, are the Celtics going to be anything? Is Jaylen Brown going to be able to carry the team? And is there going to be a huge difference within what you're looking at come playoff time? And then, of course, like I said, Marco Sturm taking the head coaching job, like seeing like a lot of things out of, you know, what you were adding in Sean Corrali, what you were adding in, you know, some veteran presence, and what you were basically looking at for what you were going to get out of your goaltenders, who was going to be basically the odd man out. Was Swayman going to be what everybody else was saying and just have another abysmal year? Or Corpusalo, was he going to step up and show to the fact he can actually be a number one? Or was he just going to lay back and cause a steaming number two? That really stinks. But the reality is, it's true. Because you didn't know what was going to happen. And the debate that basically kicked off with me at the beginning of their representative years was who was the better team. It's coming down to the last 4 games of the Bruins season, and it's also wrapping up with the Celtics season. The Celtics sit number 2 in the Eastern Conference. They are solidified for the playoffs. The Bruins haven't even categorized to the fact of like where they're going to be yet. They have 4 games to go, and it is a possibility that they could literally slip up and get out. Is that a possibility? Yes. And it's going to take a little bit to like actually keep it. Now, Philly, in order to stay in the whole mix, needed to have 2 points on the game last night. And guess what? They did. They got the 2 points. And it was horrible how they got the 2 points. Why, you ask? Oh, that's easy. When you have your Alper, which is David Pastrnak, causing turnovers and also penalties, especially in an overtime, it doesn't constitute nor does it carry weight for anybody. So looking at this Boston team, it hasn't been the most wonderful thing on the planet. And I'll tell you why. There are pros and cons when you look at a lot of the things. This is Marco Sturm's first season. A 95-point season is great. Okay? To anybody's standards for what it is, you have a plethora of talent, whether it's young guys, whether it's veteran presence. The talent on here, you could have had Beepo the Super Monkey coach this team and probably still have 90 plus wins and push a lot of factors within this team as well. So there's a lot of that. But the eye test, a lot of things that Marco Sturm has done can make you wonder. And it also puts in the factors of, should you have already been a playoff bound team? Well, in my eyes, if you want to hype up Marco Sturm and make him exactly what he is, yes, he should have been that guy. He should have been that team. And the fact that there's a little bit more of the additive that goes, okay? The Bruins struggled to generate high danger scoring chances, okay? I understand Jeremy Swayman is an elite goalie. Anybody want to argue with me? Pound it, I don't give a shit. Okay? Bottom line, no matter what you say, I've already stated this multiple times on the stream. You're not making me turn Jeremy Swayman into Tuukka Rask 2.0. Because we all know how I feel about Tuukka Rask. He is the embodiment and probably one of the top tier goalies that Boston has had. Fuck your Tim Thomas. Okay? Whoa, he won a championship. Ooh. He wasn't that monumental. And his numbers show it. His numbers versus Tuukka Rask's numbers, Rask blows him away. Anybody want to look it up, go right ahead. But the crying childs of, oh, well, Tim Thomas won my championship. No, the team did. Tim Thomas was right there. And yes, he made some remarkably beautiful saves. He also fucked up a couple times too. So get it through what you're looking at, because the man is not a saint. And he's not also the push cart for, hey, we're going to be absolutely great. We're going to make this like an absolute win. He pushed the limits and boundaries a couple times, and, well, he got there. They won. It was a great feeling. But when you rely on your elite goaltender just to basically bail you out each time, let's put it this way, you're going to wear down your goalie. If you do this in the playoffs, teams will take advantage of that. They'll run down. They'll kick it down your throat. And then you're wondering why Swayman's getting a kick out of it. Okay? I stated at the beginning of this, I stated last year, if you can't get your defensive prowess up and take care of your goalie, he's going to weaken. Okay? There's a difference between a goalie, a defenseman, and your offensive set. It's called they can get off the ice. The goalie doesn't. The goalie's there 60 minutes. So you can either protect him or trash him. If you trash him, it's kind of crappy to do, because you basically leave him out to, you leave him in the dust. That's not something you really want to deal with, or even in a manner of speaking, you don't want to have them go crazy. You need these guys to go a full 60 minutes, because you're going to play game one. There's 60 minutes in the books. You're going to do game two. There's another 60 minutes in the books. You show me one of those defensive guys, or you show me in any which way that guy is doing 60 minutes, he's not. He's probably doing 30, 40, and I'll tell you flat, if you want to sit there and tell me standing there doesn't do anything, it does. You have to have poise, control, and you at least have to have the stamina, because you're going to be upright. You're going to bend. But then you're also going to contract and get taut in certain ways in order to try to save a puck. So, yeah, when you get 5, 6 shots straight on you, you guys need to step up. Turnovers don't help either. Is that right, David? Pasternak, turnover machine. I get it. I understand and I love to the fact that like people love David Pasternak. Okay, I like to the fact that the man scores. I like to the fact that like he does like a lot. He's a presence on the ice that makes a huge lick of difference. But he's also costly at times. And I'm not talking in numbers. Don't look at me to like actually say, money, money, money. No, no, no. Let's put that to the side. He's costly in numbers with turnovers. He's costly in numbers on his defensive line. He's costly in numbers with where he could be doing so much more, but gives you less. And this is your star. This is your impact guy. This is your player. This is your beef. There's no wills on that. If you're going to pay a guy almost $7 to $8 million, he better be glorious on an offensive defense. And he should be able to like actually hold, but he shouldn't be your top tier guy for turnovers either. That's his biggest. It's one biggest thing I have against him. He is a turnover machine. And when your goaltender is basically taking a beating and your guy can't get the puck out, but then turns it over and it comes right back to the goalie where he should be taking a breather, yeah, that's going to hurt you. Going to the playoffs against some of these teams, they're going to sting you for it. And they have stung you for it. Look at Philadelphia, what they did in overtime. They took advantage of what? Penalties? And then they took advantage of turnovers. They went right down and boom, they scored the goal. They made it work. You have to be consistent and you have to be better on what you're putting on there for a product. But it even goes into like, a bigger debate that goes on. Is Sturm's system too defensive for an offensive talented team? I understand what you're working with. You're working with the fact that you want to be defensive, but you kind of break down that defensive part. You have the offensive talent. You can run down, jam it down their throats. You're fast now. You're not the clunky Bruins that are, holy guy, save it. I'm going upstairs. Oh, you're not those guys anymore. You've got youth. You've got speed. You've got agility. You've got durability. You've got ways of getting down that ice. Look at Morgan Geeky for crying out loud. Stud. But it goes without saying, when you look at Sturm's system, if it's too defensive for an offensive team, where does the mark lie? Because fans out there that make comments, they're pretty sure that he's coaching not to lose rather than coaching to win. So you're already on the defense about how you're going to, be on the side of the game. You coach to win. You go in there, you have a mentality that you want to win the game. If your mentality basically is, hey, let's go out there and try not to lose, it's not really a mentality anybody wants. It's not really also a mentality that anybody wants to deal with either. Because you see where it breaks down. You should have methods of getting down the ice, scoring the goal, protecting your goalie, being very conservative when it comes down to the end of the game in order to protect it and basically control it. And if you're not, you're basically failing someone. Okay? And I don't care who this basically stands for. The goaltending this year has been the backbone of the team because they've had to put up with turnovers, overall ratios. And listen, if the Bruins do make the playoffs, okay, here's a hot take I'll give anybody. Swayman is your number one goalie. Korpisalo is not. Korpisalo at times is close to being a number three. That's bad. Swayman's had the hot hand. He's had the hot glove. He's basically had the hot net. And he's also had to step in for times that Korpisalo has basically looked like doo-doo. Okay? And not the doo-doo that's solid. I'm talking the doo-doo that just trickles down your leg after the fact you thought it was a fart. And it just didn't work. Okay? There are things about Korpisalo that you need to understand. He is not a number one goalie. And if you want to contest me on that, by all means, there's a reason why he was given up the way he was. There's a reason why he's basically in the system the way he is. And there's also a reason why we got him for like next to nothing. Okay? When the Bruins go back and play, they play the 9th, and then they play the 11th and the 12th. You're going to have basically back-to-back games. You're going to have to put that goalie tandem in there. And you're going to have to see who holds up. And you have to commit to somebody, especially along the lines of Swayman. Because Swayman is your number one right now. You pay him the money. He's basically showed to the fact he's the number one. He showed Team USA he was like, worthy of making the team. Came back to the Bruins and basically has shown up throughout the whole season. If you're going to do a dancing mixture of Swayman and Korpisalo, you will fail. You did this the last time. You did it in 24 and 25. Okay? They didn't commit to who was the number one goalie. They decided to play the bounce around game. No. Don't ruin a goalie's confidence. You have it in you to do it. You have it in you to show the backbone, to show the balance point. So if you do make the playoffs and you're running amok with this, if you don't announce Jeremy Swayman as your number one, you're already failing. And I already never had any positives in Marco Sturm. And say what you will, I still don't. It's year one. He's got a talented team to him. Year two of the Marco Sturm experience could be an entirely different thing. That man could come out and lay an egg, like what you don't find until weeks later after Jesus has been resurrected and back again and back home again. And that egg's been sitting there and you wonder why it smells foul out in your yard. It'll happen. Marco Sturm, there's something about it. You're going back to a defensive area with an offensive team. You built, and Don Sweeney has basically drafted a lot of these guys to be more offensive than defensive. That's why I said Marco Sturm just didn't seem to work in the system. And it may just because it's throwing people off for the first go, but the second go, you have to still push your narratives. A lot of guys that Sweeney drafted and he traded for and acquired, they're all offensive. It's basically like how to rebuild David Pastrnak in multiple pieces. Part one, don't go for the guys that have a lot of defense to their offense. Go for the guys that have a lot of offense to their offense and very little defense. And this way, your goalie will basically have enough strength to handle himself. No. Bad monkey. Basically, also what it's going to boil down to, looking at my notations, the Atlantic Division is a bloodbath. Okay. Tampa, Buffalo, Montreal, 100 points. That's easy. If the Bruins hit the wild card, they're likely to face a divisional monster like the Lightning or the Hurricane in round one. So you have to up your game. You have to make sure your defensive game is going to be on. You know to the fact that they're going to come down and jam it down your throat. And the other thing is, if you're going to be the underdog, you've got to learn to kick them in the nuts. You being that underdog in order to get yourself into the playoffs, well, there it is. And I go back to my original point. I thought the Celtics were going to have the better year, and it's proven. Because, like I said, the Celtics basically have the number 2 spot in the East. Bruins are basically going for a wild card spot. And it's not for lack of better anything. It's just for the fact that, some of the games were really fun, really great to look at. It was on a point to where, you were really excited to see a lot of it. But then there was also points to where, you look at the game and it's like, why do they watch this? Why did I set up for this? Take the Philly game last night. Really excited. Really great to go into. Gets to overtime. All right. We're going to fight. And, penalty? Okay. Oh, turnover? Okay. And the penalty? Oops. Turnover? Uh-oh. Scored? Get the game? Who's happy about that? If I'm a player in the league, I'm going into the locker room, slamming my stick, and being pissed off. But do you ever hear about anybody doing that? No. I would do it. Give me a fine, because I'm still pointing fingers at who the fuck sucks. If you're so busy and adamant about dealing turnovers, you've already failed somebody. If you're more adamant about hooking someone where a local radio station has to make a comment that he got hooked so badly that it was questionable to call the police for how much of an assault it was. Do you think that's a positive thing to have? That's not anything you want over your head. Think about it. You're a player. You're going to go in. You're going to turn on SportsCenter, and that's basically what they're going to blast you with. You're going to listen to what your critics have said, and basically it's going to get in your head. And there's no way to be sugarcoating about it. You could say it doesn't bother you and that you want to be the best of the best of the best. Sir, with honors. Turnovers in an overtime game when you're one guy down because overtime is 4-on-4? No, it's not a positive delight. And when you basically make a rookie mistake like that, not once but twice, yes, look at your focus. If you want to be a defensive team, be the defensive team. Turnovers do not make you defensive. They make you a liability, especially where you've got a lot on the team. You shouldn't be turning things over and then relying on your goaltender, because I hate to say it. I'll say it about Tim Thomas. I'll say it about Tuukka Rask. I'll say it about Jeremy Swayman. I'll say it about Jonas Korpisalo. I'll say it about Reggie Lemlin. I'll say it about Andy Moog. I'll say it even to, goalies of old. They're not 100%. A goalie is like a condom. Okay? You put the condom on, put the goalie in the net, and they will sometimes not be 100% effective. So if you... guess what? 99% of your swimmers just got caught. There's a 1%er that could slip in, and you got to be worried about that little man. Well, in times when you're shooting a puck, it's the same thing. If you're leaving somebody to go in on a 2-on-1, there is a 99% chance that that man is going to thieve that puck. But there's also the 1%, and sometimes it goes down with how it is. If you get an all-star, you're now down to 72%. If you get a mid guy who's got a lot of goals, you go down to like 85%. If you've got a guy who's got a nasty wrist shot or even a passover to a guy that's going to put you out of position, that's going to drop you down to like a 90 percentile. There's still those times that you can make the save, and it's great. But don't put your goalie in that position. Who does that? Okay? And here's a bedliner I'll shoot you with. Who do you guys not want to see the Bruins play in the playoffs? Like right now, if the playoffs ended, the Bruins made it, who is your number one? Who is even like a team that you don't want to touch? You can have multiple teams. It's a great thing. But who's a team that you don't want them to touch? I guarantee it, one of those teams is going to be one of the top three, and it's probably two of the teams that they have to play with the wild card position they're in. Won't be surprised. Okay? Because I'll stake this as a power stat. You ready? This is how prepared I came, ladies and gentlemen. Yep. The Bruins are 8th in the league in goals scored. They're at 254 goals. They're 20th in goals against, which means they've had 235 goals against them. Okay? This is where if Marcus Sturm is going to be a defensive team, he's not showing it. Because this is where your weakness is. And you either played teams that were on a bad night, they didn't play the top goalie, you basically got lucky. You know, this is where everybody who talked about the Patriots and like everything going on with that, oh yeah, the soft schedule and everything. This is where you can literally look at the Bruins and say, this is similar, just in a longer term. And why? Well, again, look at the data I just gave you. Okay? 8th in the league in goals scored, which means you go into teams and you, out of the whole year right now, you've tossed up 254 goals. If you were a defensive team showing your offense and you hit 254, but your goals against were under 200, you'd have a different outcome with some of the games that you're looking at. And you'd probably have higher points. This is where some of this doesn't work. Okay? Like you have a powder keg that'll go down the ice, score goals, and make you look like a champion. But then you allow the other team to come down the ice, bash your goalie, and score. You have a leaky defense. Okay? You didn't put your depends on. You didn't do anything. You basically like trusted a fart and let it slip. I don't care if there's a lot of poop analogies. Look at the Bruins. Look at how they're painful right now. Because a lot of those stats are what you're looking at. Okay? Your schedule is right now going to dictate where you go in the playoffs. You have 4 games remaining. You have Carolina, which is one of the top teams. So you got to beat them. You then have Tampa Bay, which is the statement game. That's the game where you have to make the most aspects of going forward to get yourself in there. Then you have the Blue Jackets. So if you don't survive the 7th and the 11th, the Blue Jackets are the must win. That's the one you got to put them away in order to get into the playoffs. Not doing that is going to cause you to fail. And that's going to be like basically the kick in the pants. And then you have the season finale against the Devils. Depending upon how you do, yeah, if you take 2 points in Carolina, 2 points in Tampa, and 2 points against Columbus, that basically puts you way out of everywhere. So you know you're riding in as the wild card. But if you can't hold it against Carolina, Tampa, and then Columbus, don't even bother showing up. Okay? I made it apparent all the time when I talk about playoffs. Say this about the Bruins, I'll say this about the Celtics, I'll say this about anybody. Because I also said it about the Patriots too, and the Patriots basically proved my worth when I said it. You do your regular season stats and you do your regular season standings in order to get into the playoffs. Okay? Your hockey, your everything is basically taken aback by what you're basically going to kick in. So you can either do one of two things. You can throw up a pretty good, solid, table where you're having the best stats, you're having the best year, you have the best record. But when the playoffs start, everything goes back down to zero. It's great to the fact that the Bruins are possibly going to make it in with the wild card. Okay, give them credit where credit's due. They're going to make it and slip through the wild card. They're basically going to make the playoffs if that be the case. But now you have to look at it from another angle. You're going to be 0-0. No wins, no losses. And you're going to go into the playoffs making sure you can hold yourself down. That is going to be the extent of what you're looking at. Now, you could have tremendous season, play to your heart's content, throw up one of the better years, go into the playoffs and shit your pants. It means the fact that you're going out the first round. Which team this Bruins team is basically going to be. And this is not going to be like one of those marks on Marco Sturb I'm basically going to give him a pass for. Where, oh, well, they didn't make the playoffs last year. So with them not making the playoffs last year, we made the playoffs this year. 1 round exit. Okay, yeah. Like, no. Back it up. You're not getting a get out of jail free pass just because you want to tell me, oh, well, they made the playoffs last year. So, well, they didn't make the playoffs last year, but they made the playoffs this year. And that's your what? That's your bare minimum? Nobody in Boston likes bare minimum. Okay? It's bad enough I have people that say, like, oh, championship or bust. Like, there's times to where you want to be really excited they made the playoffs, first off. Secondly, you want to make sure they do it again. Build the team, build the culture, build the tenacity. You're doing it with the Celtics. Okay? I hate to break it to everybody, but you look at the Celtics versus the Bruins. Celtics have depth. Celtics have everything you basically want. You have guys coming off the bench. They're playing the defense. They're putting up offense. They're putting up assists. They're basically making everything that you want. And then you look at the Bruins. It's a night and day team. But the Celtics just didn't get that overnight. trades, certain things. They got the Jays. They built the Jays. They basically built up what they're looking at. They're riding the pine with everything. They did not fail with Peyton Pritchard. They went out and they held on to Derek White and they went out and got him. Okay. And now you're putting together the sign pieces that are building around those players. That's proper methods of building a team. You know, like I said, you built the Bruins as an offensive powerhouse, and they're showing it by showing how many goals and how everything they can do, and making it exactly what they need to make it. But there's a lot of things that they're lacking. There's a lot of things they need to make a difference on, and it needs to be shown. You're looking at the final push for the first wild card spot in the Eastern Conference with a record of 43, 26, and 9. Now, if you took the 9 on there and you reverted into like 1 or 2 wins, we're not having this conversation. We know you're going into the wild card, but you could also be one of those teams that basically made a push for 100 wins. 100 points. You have a chance of 2, 4, 6 if you beat Carolina, which is going to be a test. Okay. If you beat Tampa Bay, which is going to be a test, and then you also beat Columbus, it's going to be a test. That's 2 points each game. You're over 100 wins. You're over 100 points. But you shouldn't be having this conversation. You're showing where you are and where you stand. Do I trust it? No. But we'll see how it goes. Okay. And of course, we'll switch over and I'll do this little segment. You know, where is the one thing I was looking at that I'm not seeing? So we're going to do anything called concession meter. Okay. The concession meter is rating each team 1 to 10 on how people should be panicking on everything that's going on right now. Start off with the Patriots. I'm putting the Patriots at an easy 4. Real quick shot with the Patriots because I wanted to focus a little bit more on current stuff that's going on, not hearsay with a lot. They've dropped a lot of players. They've signed a lot of players. I actually like the cornerback out of the from the Bears that they got. The AJ Brown fiasco is still going on. They basically need to have a jovial strength wide receiver. I understand why they let go of Stephon Diggs, but I don't, because they need someone of his caliber to like actually come in and do something. Dobbs is great. Brings that giant helmet energy. I'm not sure if he's going to be the number 1 guy. You know? Like, do you pull the Jack Nicholson Joker and grab him on the shoulders and rub him and just be like, remember, you are my number 1. A guy. You don't treat him like Bob the Goon. Bob the Goon was his number 1. don't think Romeo Dobbs is going to be the number one. So AJ Brown, number one caliber, yes, cool. Stephon Diggs, still dangerous, still scary. Tyreek Hill, the joke, fast as fuck boy. Wouldn't want to touch him. You know, it's a lot of checks and balances to where like you don't want to touch certain guys like that. You're basically you'll probably get him at a steal, and you have to worry about like how he's gonna be. And it would be an absolute devastation to Miami if he actually came on board. But reality, you need someone who's going to be sustainable. You know, yeah, you've got Keyshawn Boutte, you've got Mike Williams, you basically got Pop Douglas, who's slipping in every once in a while, and Diggs putting up 1,000 yards was beautiful. Plus, also Drake May was showing exactly what he is. Is there going to be questions upon the shoulder? Is it going to be something that's going to linger for him at the beginning of the year? Do I have a worry meter right now at the moment? No. When July, August hits and we go into more and we see how everybody's like built up and we see what kind of shape Drake May is going to be in and what he's going to look like for his third year, then fine. We'll have that conversation. Celtics, they're like the thing to get when you go to a concession stand. Why? Because they just need to stay healthy. They're already like on the go. They're basically where you need. It's basically, man, I'm walking into Fenway Park. What am I grabbing? I'm grabbing a sausage or I'm grabbing a hot dog. Okay? Say all you want. I don't care. Baseball has the phallic objects because they're balls. You were thinking it. Don't think to the fact that just because I said it, you weren't thinking it because you know you were. Sickos. And if that's the case, tell me the one thing. Tell me the one thing when you go into a Sox game, okay, that you do not try, that you go and get. Okay? Because if anybody wants to tell me you're going for nachos, you're lying. If you want to tell me to the fact you're going for the peanuts and Cracker Jacks, liar. You're going for a phallic object first, and then you're going for the Cracker Jacks or even the nuts. Okay? You're going down in that region. Don't lie. You know it. Okay? There's multiple sausage carts outside. There's multiple things that actually show a steaming wiener that you can get in the park. Don't give me that. But yeah, state it. The Celtics they're easily the top tier guy, like a one, maybe two, okay, on a concession meter. Why? Because they're number one and number two of what you're looking at. Because you know they're not going to go out in the first round. And if they do, they played a very hard, very deep team. And they basically brought the house with them. Did one of the Jays fail? Did something else go wrong? Were they not able to get the rebounds and everything like that they normally do in a game? What happened that caused that collapse to where they're not going to get out of the first round? It'd be a joke for them not to. Okay? It's completely in a different land. Okay? The Bruins, I gotta say, probably about a 7. Okay? They're like the little ice cream things that like hang around and look around and like it's one of those, do I really want one? Do I really not want one? Do I care about it? Do I not care about it? Is it a souvenir style cup thing? And the Bruins being in that like the label is exactly because they're playing the bad hockey right now. They're not basically giving you the greatest of great. They're not pushing the boundaries and limits. They should have already sealed up the wild card and called it a damn day. To the fact you've got 4 games left and you're still not calling them for the wild card, that's concerning to me. So yes, you get a 6 or 7 on that on that locale. We just talked about it. And finally, this is not just my score. This is a Red Sox fan score. This is a lot of everything else score. This is basically your oops-a-daisy score. The Red Sox are basically at a 9. They're the stale pretzel that's there at the end of the game. They're the popcorn that was popped that nobody touched at the bottom. They're the nachos that somebody decided to want, then decided against it, and then nobody else ordered nachos for a couple hours, so the cheese and everything sat. And why? We really got to do the song and dance. Let's get into it. Why? Oh, man. Topher, did you have more written about Boston right now? Yes. Did you have more written about the Red Sox? Yes. Are you going into like a lot of things? Yes. And here's the start. The Red Sox, up until tonight, which, mind you, pretty sure. Hold on, I'm just making sure I still keep my notes. Boston Red Sox lost 8-6. Okay. Why does that make a difference? The Red Sox, out of 10 games, they have their worst game start in franchise history. They're 2-8. 2-8. Do you know why that's their worst start? They've never been 2-8. So, to all the pansies and all the people that basically, they're going to do 162-0. Listen, if you believe to the fact that somebody's going to go 162-0, you really need to get your facts straight, and you also need to like actually pucker up, Buttercup, because that brown eye is a little loose for everything you're thinking right there. Not in the prime like location you want to go into. So you're basically breaking down like a lot of this. Where are the Red Sox? What are the Red Sox doing? I'm just typing up something just to check something really quick. But yeah, an 8-2 start. I mean, a 2-8 start is nothing you want to go. But here's a glowing aspect. Okay, Roman Anthony coming out and saying team's performance is unacceptable. Fans have every right to be upset. That's a quote from him. This is Roman Anthony. This is your young and up and coming stud. This is a kid that like basically sits there and goes, "We shouldn't be like this." Okay, and it's good because the Red Sox fully 100% need a leader. It wasn't Rafael Devers. Okay, there's a reason why they got rid of Rafi. All right, and that's the point of it. Okay, you've got to move past that. First off, Cassie. Here's a bigger point I'll make within the Rafael Devers and um, everything else that they look at. Okay? Because if somebody wants to compare Caleb Durbin to Lafayette Devers, go ahead. Go right ahead. Okay? Caleb Durbin's here to play baseball. Lafayette Devers was here to make basically a stink. Okay? You remember his start? 0-16? And people made complaints about Caleb Durbin and his starts for like what he has. Like right now, he's batting 125, Caleb Durbin. But what did he go? 0-12? And everybody started to complain about, Durbin, like, this is what you did, like, you know, this kid. Well, where his defensive prowess is? Yeah. It's much better than Rafael Devers. Rafael Devers can hit the ball, but I think even right now, if I took a quick Google search, Rafael Devers right now is batting 211. Okay. Caleb Durbin, who's just getting acclimated to Fenway, just getting acclimated to the Red Sox, getting acclimated in what his new role is going to be at a 26-year-old, but yet you have a soon-to-be 30-year-old on the broad side of whatever the free contract he's sitting on, and you mean to tell me you're still wanting this kid? Yeah, he's great against the Yankees. Congratulations. I don't care that he's good against the Yankees. I had a stinker to the fact that you paid him $400 million and he went over for 16 because he wanted to prove a point, because he wanted to make a lasting impression with everything going on. No, shouldn't have even been there. Shouldn't have even been to the point. Shouldn't even be having this conversation. Okay? And to the fact that in the 2026 season, if everybody wants to be so technical after the first 10 games, okay, Lafayette's only batting 211. He's got 1 home run, 2 RBIs, 8 hits. Big deal. You should have double the hits. You should have about 2 or 3 home runs. There are people that are down to the minors that are slinging bigger dongs than this kid. They ain't making $400 million. Plus, also, Caleb Durbin kind of reminds me of, oh crap, what was the catcher there that we had? Yeah, he reminds me of him, like a little rat fink, like little bastard. But yeah, looking at it, the Red Sox currently a 5.19 ERA on the year. You want to go against a little bit of a point? You got Garrett Crochet, Sonny Gray, Ranger Suarez. Some of these guys should be making marks. Ranger Suarez should already be making marks, but no, he comes into a regular season instead of the World Baseball Classic, and he's making it like it's Easter, and he's laying chocolate eggs. Another case in point. Offense has only scored 30 runs total. Third lowest in the league right now. 30 runs. You have a talented team that can put together hits and they can put together like the low ball. You don't have to go yard to make a difference on it. You just have to make it a hit, get on base. Like Dwight Evans says, you get on base, it's a fantastic thing. If you can get guys off base at a positive level, with you getting on base, you just made a little bit more of like a situation happen. These guys aren't doing that. Okay? And the point it goes is you can either look at the players Well, you can look at what I've been complaining about in a light note. Okay? Wyler Abreu is hitting 429. He is the light and the beacon right now of what is going on and what they're doing right. He's got a 1301 on OPS. He's 15 hits, 35 at bats, 8 extra base hits. And the notation I put on here, he's the highlight of why you're not 0-10. Garrett Crochet is the other one. Okay? Because looking at this, yeah, you're just showing everything of where you are and where you're falling. And I know it's the beginning of the year. Okay, let's not do a mocking point. I know it's the beginning of the year. I know to the fact that like it's making like a big stage. I know that there's still a lot of work to do, but when you start off the season, if you don't start it off 5-5 at 500, if you don't start it off 6-4, hell, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. If you're not starting at 4-6, you're not doing something right. And I said it as a breakdown when it originally happened. Not starting Marcelo Meyer on opening day of the league because of a left-handed hitter, you're a fucking idiot. And I still stand to that stance with Alex Cora to this day. I think he's a fucking idiot. I think he's a moron. I don't trust him. I don't like him. Oh, stinks in here. And it's not because I had some dairy and farted, because the ice cream I was talking about before, that was different. But I will break this down in a very, very casual manner. I have not fully watched a Red Sox game or sat down to look at it. I look at the stats. I look at the play-by-plays. I look at some of the, Sox in 2. I basically break down like a couple things here or there, but I have not sat down with a good meal from pitch 1 all the way to like pitch end. Why? Because Alex Cora is the manager. Yeah, I've made this statement for a while. And a lot of people have looked at me with, oh, Topher, we love that take. It's great. It's kind of shitty. It's like, no, it's not. Have I had faith in Alex Cora since he got here? No. Do I have any faith in Alex Cora any further? No. What is the balance of Alex Cora? It's a waste of time. Okay? Because here's the controversial part that I'm basically going to go on with, okay? When we're talking into everything, going Red Sox wise. Okay? I hate to break it to you, but there is a thing called the Cora Breslow hot seat. Someone's ass is burning. Now, whether they had Taco Bell beforehand or whether the fact that they're doing something wrong, there is the biggest monument to anything going on. Okay? And who's in the middle of it? Fans. Okay? Let me kick the Breslow piece. Okay? Is Craig Breslow doing everything he literally can in order to put this team together? No. Does it seem like he has his hands tied? Yeah. There are certain methods and certain things that I can sit there and look at that I've looked at over the Ben Cherington years, whether I looked at from the Dombrowski years, from even the Theo years, insert general manager here. Even with what's his name that had the stupid name that was before Breslow, Heim Bloom. Things and methods that these guys do for 1,000, Alex, that just makes me seem off base with how you talk about the Red Sox. There's something deep about how they treat Craig Breslow to where they're looking for him to have a fall guy presence because they're doing more things deliberately. So it's one of two things. Either they're meaning for him to fail because they want to get rid of him. And it's like, oh, hey, we'll just point this on him and it'll be fine. Yeah. John Henry is so ineptly stupid that because he's no longer paying attention, and when I mean no longer paying attention, I'll show you the method of no longer paying attention. I found this on Getty's Images, okay? It's either the man's being booed or he just doesn't care. That's John Henry, ladies and gentlemen. This man has gone from, we care about the Red Sox, we care about fans, we want to do everything we can, we want to put a winning product on the field, we want to do everything to like what we can do in order to make sure that this goes for years to come. Really? Because with a 2-8 start, everybody from Red Sox Nation is calling for your head. Not only calling for your head, but they're calling for you to move on from the team. It's great. Your ownership group and everything like that bought the team. You came in, you put the right pieces in place, you got us Theo. You basically started a moniker that made us feel like, hey, you're going to be doing great for the team. First championship in the books. Second championship in the books. We started winning championships. Holy cow, who are we? Do you feel that sense of urgency now? Because I don't. I called Alex Cora's management win a fluke. And there was a lot of things I looked at that were pretty fluky. One being John Henry, to, you break it down to Craig Breslow and how he's basically going to go into it, to Alex Cora. Yay! These are the guys that make up everything of what this man is basically telling you. Because John Henry doesn't want to hear from Breslow. And John Henry, reason why his fingers are in his ears, probably doesn't want to listen to Cora. Can you blame him? When somebody also is making comments on the side that Cora is just ignoring players at the moment, especially when they're supposed to be doing a conference, and you have guys on their phone, more so than paying attention to that than they are paying attention to what they're supposed to be doing. What does that deliver? That delivers a message that your manager doesn't get it. So, hot seat, who's got the hots? Who's basically got the shits? Who's like slipping and sliding on the way out? There's something that tells me within the mindset it's all three. Okay? I think Cora has a little bit more to go off of because let me put a scenario in here to where, like, I'll basically look at this. We know to the fact that John Henry probably is not selling the team. Okay, the team is a moneymaker. It's basically, fueling the fire for everything else that's basically going along. So you can't really take out the money man in that situation. You're basically going to be like riding the pine with it. So it's kind of like piss or get off the pot. You got a deal. Sorry, guy. Not really much we can actually say. So with Henry staying, now you look at Breslow because it's the step down. And I mean, I could even throw Sam Kennedy in there. Because if people have listened to the podcast, I hate Kennedy. Sam Kennedy, I think, is a dweeb. I think he's an absolute putz. I don't think to the fact he has not only the player's best interest in heart, see, of course, Alex Bregman and his signings and everything like that was going on with him. And then his after talk with it, all the way up to, again, how he treats fans, how he talks down to fans, like making them feel stupid because, the fans have opinions, and then he just sits there like, oh, well, the opinions of these people are, not good. Stop. We get opinions because we're looking at everything, dude. You're sitting from high above, and like you're probably looking at someone's butt. Male, female, that's your choice. Okay, we don't discriminate against it. And of course, going down the line again, now you have Breslow. What has Breslow done? He's made attempts of getting things like where they need to be. He's had more control from when he was with the Cubs and their organization, which is the reason why some of the aspect was, hey, come to Boston, come to Boston. We can't get anybody else. But we heard you do wonderful things. And yeah, in Chicago, he did do great things. There's a reason why a general manager job was on his resume. Or to be put on a resume. Because he has that motion to be that guy. There's no rhyme or reason around it. There's nothing to take it away from it. You have to look at Breslow himself. Is Breslow a failure? Nah, I don't want to say that. Did people fail Breslow? Yes. Are they still failing him to this moment? Yes. Can you blame Breslow for everything that basically has gone on? No. Okay? This man, I'm not blaming for a lot of things. Having a backbone is where I need to blame him for not having. Because he needs to stand up to people and say, hey, we want Alex Bregman here. You need to put a push for Alex Bregman. We want Pete Alonso here because he's going to give us those home runs. If I had to choose between Wilson Contreras and Pete Alonso, I'd take the chance on Pete Alonso of all things. I'd ride with that. Still would. Okay? And then, of course, once you get past the Breslow scenario, you're looking at this twiddly derp, which is Alex Cora. Has he been anything phenomenal over the past 2-3 years? No. Has he been more of what I would say a problematic manager? Yes. Why has he been a problematic manager? That's very simple and easy. Okay? He didn't want to get involved with everything going on with your third baseman, Devers, even though him and Devers were chummy and everything like that was great. And, he still needed to be the manager. He needed to, choose sides. And he didn't. He wanted, hey, Breslow, you take care of it. No, you should be talking to your player. If he's going to play first, have him play first. He basically bailed on his team. And then Coyle's dropping little subtleties upon how he feels about it. And then the minute that, okay, well, guess what? We just traded Devers. Claire had a couple more quips, and then all of a sudden got right on board. And the one thing you can notice is the Red Sox, when Cora started getting on board and being an actual manager, they started winning games. They started making a difference. And they started being that team. There was nothing that held them back. There was nothing that held them down at that point. Well, welcome to like exactly what you're looking at. Because Cora should have been that way all year. Had he talked to Devers, Devers might actually still be here. We might not have gone through like, a big transition of, hey, let's move around this guy, this guy, this guy, do this, do this. Devers might have been here until he slumped his way down the tubes. And then by, the halfway point of the year, we're using Devers for trade bait. And who knows, maybe we would have got our pitcher. Is that a rhyme or reason that you can probably go into? Yeah, sure. What's the other anecdote you can look at? Well, that's easy. Look at him right now. You have a 2-7 start. If he does not turn that around and get anywhere to 500 over the next 15 to 20 games, I think he has an option at the end of this year. I'd already be out the door with him. I know people like have this thing where I was hearing it, I was understanding with it. If the Sox are 10 games under 500 by June, do you give Cora the chance to finish the season? That's curiosity where I'm at. Because there's a lot within this Cora Breslow hot seat. And the reason why there's a lot into it is you have a fractured fan base. Okay? When you're blaming the ownership, and then you're blaming the lackey that the ownership has, and then you're also blaming the stooge, but then you're also blaming the manager, it starts there. Okay? That's where you go with it. And a lot of everything, there's going to be fans that they're crying because Rafael Devers is out the door. Get over it quick. Okay? An 0-16 start, and the way he finished in San Francisco wasn't anything, because if he was over here and he finished the same way, okay, you would have been calling for Breslow to do something because you'd be pissed because it's the fact that he was still here. Okay? And the other thing, like I mentioned, is Alex Cora, who his post-game quotes are starting to wear thin. The same rhetoric. He pushes off on them. He doesn't have that mentality to where, hey, we just lost. Can we do better? Can we make a difference here? Like, go over something. Like, look at this. Show the build. So how much thread does Cora have? How much is it actually going to like make a difference within the next, the piece? Who's the real villain in the story is a better option. Who's the bigger villain? John Henry is riding fine with that. He's a strong villain, strong case point, strong everything with what you're looking at. You step down as Sam Kennedy because, again, how he dealt with the Bregman situation, how he dealt with like a couple of the players, like, within the option of how they went, but also how he treats fans, especially within their, their little town meetings and everything like that. He talks like an absolute. I don't even want to say a word right now. And then, of course, Breslow. Is Breslow truly a villain or is he a court jester? And I'll say this. I like Craig Breslow. I liked him as a player. I like him within how he talks about people because he doesn't bash or badmouth or basically suck the life out of people he's talking about. He's the anti-Sam Kennedy. And if he's talking bad about somebody or like, something like that went on and like he's trying to make a better understanding with what it is, he's talking intelligently and he's trying to talk about the upkeep to the fan base without disrespecting the fan base. That's positive. You can't put him as a villain. Can you put him as a court jester? Sure. Can you put him as like, one of the townspeople that just wants to throw things at somebody? Yeah. Can you make Alex Cora the villain? Sure. He controls the team on the field. He puts the batting order together. He puts everything else together. He works with his team. He basically makes sure everything is where they are with coaching. It's a big ordeal. At the end of the day, Cora is one of those people that you got to wonder, dude, are you doing something right? Are you doing something wrong? Or is what you're doing harming everything that you're trying to basically get a good feel for? That's the downtrodden part to everything you're looking at. And you can't even sit there and state, well, Cora can turn it around. No, he's got to get the team to turn it around. He's got to get everybody else to turn it around. And I think that's where the team steps in and says, hey, we're sick of this, and goes and does the complete opposite. I think Cora was so down in the dumps with everything going on with Devers, he didn't want to take the blame for it. He didn't want to point the finger, and he also didn't want to have the talk. And what did it do? It downed the whole clubhouse. This is one time I probably will give Rafael Devers credit. When he went, Cora was still devastated, but the team decided to like, hey, if he's going to be negative Nancy, we've got to get ourselves motivated. And they did. You could still feel the crapness that was in Cora's voice at the time. If I've got to get rid of anybody, it's going to be in this order. Okay? Alex Cora, Sam Kennedy, John Henry, Breslow. If anybody else has a different method, by all means. But if you think to the fact of getting rid of the ownership first, got to be careful with that. Because you get rid of the ownership, you're going to have somebody that steps in, and your dynamic is going to change overnight. So at least if you're holding on to one thing, you can hold on to the year. And then if you decide to sell the team over the offseason, hey, good for you. Ah, man. I just expected an hour tonight. I'm looking at like 1:34. Hopefully everybody had a wonderful Easter. You got some candy, got some eggs. You didn't shit your pants. That was a benefit. I put out a video, of course, giving props and praise to Holy Cow Ice Cream. You can actually check them out, Holy Cow Ice Cream Cafe, .com. I'm not sure if they ship. If they do, grab some ice cream. I did a short video on their one of their ice creams that I was I still to this very moment like absolutely enjoy. Um Considering the like it's one of their new flavors. It's party animal. I thought the aspect of it and like the right mind to it was really cool. I'm a big fan of Nesquik or Nestle Quick, I should say. Um, and for me, going to school in the morning was you'd walk about a third of the way, hit a corner store, pop in, s- like a buck and a half, $2 was a strawberry quick, and I'd down that for breakfast and then get to school. I'd basically run amok, do everything I did, um, then have lunch, and then go home. So the idea of a strawberry like Nesquik kind of hits my head. Um, the frosted animal crackers were great. They weren't too strong. They also didn't add like a hi, I'm gonna break my teeth on this because they're frozen. Um, the funfetti cake was I could take it or leave it. I felt it was a little too overboard. All in all, party animal, like I'll give a concession score. It was like an 8. Um, just because when you have the strawberry Nesquik feeling of the ice cream, but as it is, it's fantastic. Um, there is another one I do have in the refrigerator. I have not made a video about it yet. I'm very excited to do. It's called carrot cake. It is a carrot cake ice cream. Um, it's got Twist Bakery's famous carrot cake inside it. So I guess it has like the uh the contents of it are coconut, dairy, and egg. So there are little pieces of coconut. My mom did try hers today. I did drop hers off. She was blown away by it. Um, and there is another limited time one that I'm a fan of anything peanut butter. I've often said if I become allergic to nuts, peanuts, peanut butter, anything like that, just take me out. Um, like if I can't enjoy peanut butter, I'm a lost cause. So they have one called Lunch Lady. It is chocolate peanut butter ice cream. It's got house made Lunch Lady bars, made of graham cracker, peanut butter, and fudgy chocolate. Um, so right there, it's peanut butter ice cream. I'm already sold. Um, but there's a couple that question me, like the lemon curd ice cream. It's called Easy Peasy. Um, it's loaded with lemon bars. Lemons, of course, are like a big thing. Then you get like the really, really cool ones. The Fruity Pebbles infused cereal milk, with cereal marshmallows, stuff like that's really cool. Um, I definitely recommend to go check this place out. Um, and I'm not meaning to like plug. I'm not paid for this. Not if I enjoy something that's really, really great, I'm gonna tell you about it because I have to. So at some point on TikTok, just be on the lookout for the carrot cake video. Um, I will be putting that up probably within the next couple days. I don't want to like over saturate myself with dairy goods. Because then the noise out of my butt is going to be like a howitzer, and I don't want to scare my cat any more than what I already do. Plus, if I actually make one on stream, I don't want you guys hearing it because then it's like, oh, I mean, I'm just going to hear about it like all the time, and no, no, I'm good with that. So, as we are about to embark, One of the things I will say is I hope that the Bruins do make the playoffs. It'd be nice to talk about the Patriots. I mean, the Bruins and the Celtics with the playoffs and going along with everything as it is. I'm hoping to the fact that everything goes very smoothly, very wonderfully, and we get exactly where we need to be. I am looking forward to also a couple other additives that will come in. So there's always some good stuff that's on the horizon. But again, this is a welcome back. Gonna try to stick around a little bit to where like I can actually do some more content because we have a lot more to talk about. So I thank you guys for tuning in. And of course, as always, we are Boston Concessions. We are an SSPN's podcast. Those glorious boys down in Rhode Island. One of them actually went to opening day, which is probably why they're 2-0. Steve Scott, we love you to death, buddy. Also, Josh Pods, he ended up down there as well. I still have to get some analysis from them on how their opening day went in Fenway. So hopefully I'll get that relatively soon, or even have one of them come on here where they can say it themselves. Till then, this has been Boston Concessions. We will see you soon. Take care, everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your week.